Sunny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well.
If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of rain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Picture this. A country music superstar steps onto the stage in front of the entire nation, belting out patriotic notes at one of the most divisive presidential inaugurations in recent history. Carrie Underwood, one of the most celebrated voices in contemporary country music, found herself at the center of a cultural earthquake the day she performed for Donald Trump's inauguration. Though her voice soared through the crisp air, an undeniable testament to her talent, she unwittingly stepped onto a battleground where every note would be dissected, scrutinized, and politicized. In the days and weeks that followed, The View co-host Sunny Hostin launched a series of pointed critiques, the internet erupted into fervent debates, and the controversy ballooned into a seismic standoff that nobody expected. But how did a single performance ignite a lawsuit, provoke one of the world's most outspoken podcasters, and nearly set daytime television ablaze with drama? Buckle up, because this saga is as dramatic as a country ballad, and it has far-reaching implications about free speech, patriotism, and the thin line between public commentary and defamation. Carrie Underwood had performed before countless audiences. From sold-out arenas to prestigious award shows, she'd sung the national anthem at major sporting events, brought stadiums to their feet, and redefined how country music could appeal to a broad mainstream audience. Yet this specific invitation to grace the stage at Donald Trump's inauguration was no typical gig. For a significant portion of Americans, Trump represented a leader who reconfigured the political landscape, often steeped in controversy and polarized opinions. Accepting or rejecting this invitation was bound to draw scrutiny. Still, Carrie stood there on that inaugural stage, delivering a rendition of patriotic tunes with her trademark vocal precision and heartfelt emotion. Where some saw a sincere display of national pride, others sensed something more complex, an alignment with a figure whose policies and rhetoric many found deeply objectionable. In the immediate aftermath, the world of social media did what it always does. It exploded into analysis, critique, and heated arguments. Hashtags referencing Carrie, Trump, and The View started popping up on Twitter. TikTok videos dissecting Carrie's performance garnered thousands of views. Debates raged in comment sections and subreddits. Some fans fervently defended her right to sing at any inauguration she pleases. After all, she's an entertainer, not a political pundit. Others argued that any appearance at such a politically charged event carried an implicit endorsement of the administration. Soon, the story was everywhere. Morning news segments, late-night talk shows, and trending lists on major platforms. But the most incendiary commentary came from a place known for its strong stances and spirited discussions, The View. This daytime talk show, known for hosting debates between its diverse panel of co-hosts, quickly took up Carrie Underwood's inauguration performance as a topic. Co-host Sunny Hostin, in particular, expressed pointed disapproval. She framed Carrie's decision as deeply disappointing and, some viewers felt, borderline accusatory, painting Carrie's choice as a betrayal of certain values that Sunny and many Americans held dear. In Sunny's eyes, the performance crossed a moral line. The spirit of patriotism was overshadowed, Sunny seemed to suggest, by the symbolic weight of who was receiving that performance. From there, the controversy kicked into overdrive. For a moment, Carrie Underwood remained silent, letting the storm swirl around her. Typically, big-name artists might address criticism head-on through social media posts or interviews, but Carrie's quiet stance left room for speculation. Behind the scenes, fans clamored for her to speak out. Was she regretful? Was she resolute in her decision? Was she being silenced by publicists? Nobody knew for sure, and that silence only amplified the chatter. Then came the moment that took everyone by surprise. Carrie Underwood filed a defamation lawsuit. In a stark shift from her mild public persona, she took decisive legal action, naming Sunny Hostin and several other co-hosts of The View in the documents. According to Carrie's legal team, the statements made on air weren't just opinionated commentary, they bordered on accusations that could harm Carrie's reputation and livelihood. In the entertainment industry, branding is everything. If a performer is painted as supporting a leader whom certain groups view as morally unacceptable, or if it's implied that her values align with everything that leader stands for, doors can slam shut. Sponsors can withdraw, fans can feel betrayed, and concert sales can take a hit. Carrie's lawyers argued that Sunny's critiques went beyond typical talk show banter. They rose to the level of insinuating immoral or even felonious behavior on Carrie's part, painting her as someone who knowingly endorsed wrongdoing. Once news of the lawsuit broke, it was like throwing a lit match into a room full of fireworks. Media outlets rushed for details, legal experts offered analyses, and the internet's fervor dialed up a notch. Overnight, Carrie Underwood became the figurehead of a broader discussion. When does public commentary transition from simple free speech to legally actionable defamation? At what point should talk shows, famous for their hot takes, be held accountable for the potential fallout of their words? Before this legal dust could settle, another high-profile voice decided to weigh in: Joe Rogan, a man who rarely shies. Away from contentious subjects, Rogan had an established reputation as a podcasting giant capable of swaying public discourse. Whether delving into political controversies, interviewing scientists, or challenging popular narratives, he drew millions of listeners eager to hear his unfiltered opinions. On this issue, he wasted no time. He called out The View in general, and Sunny Hostin in particular, describing their remarks as overblown, hypocritical, and unsubstantiated. Rogan's perspective hinged on the premise that we can criticize political figures without turning on artists who choose to perform at political events. Furthermore, he suggested that shows like The View thrive on outrage, and Sunny's condemnation of Carrie Underwood might be more about attracting ratings than expressing deeply held convictions. The moment Rogan's commentary went live, it found fertile ground on every major social media platform. TikTokers spliced clips of Rogan's criticism with Sunny Hostin's original comments. Twitter users reposted segments in which Rogan quipped that if you average out the IQ of the hosts on The View, you'd barely crack triple digits, and an especially scathing remark that set off its own wave of outraged replies and supportive applause. Rogan's fans saw him as championing free speech and calling out what he termed performative outrage, while Sunny's supporters labeled Rogan as arrogant and dismissive, especially toward a woman of color voicing a personal opinion. Suddenly, the internet had split into factions. On one side, people who believed Sunny had a right to voice her disgust at Carrie Underwood's choice. On the other side, those who felt The View and its co-host had overstepped into potentially defamatory territory. Meanwhile, a good chunk of viewers found themselves simply enthralled by the spectacle, tuning in daily for the latest developments, as though it were a reality show playing out in real time. The pace of this unfolding drama felt relentless, as each hour brought fresh takes from social commentators, entertainment analysts, or random internet personalities looking to seize a bit of the spotlight. Yet, while Joe Rogan's monologues fueled the online bonfire, an equally pressing question loomed. What was happening behind closed doors at ABC, the network home of The View? According to insiders who dished out tidbits to various entertainment blogs, not everyone at ABC was thrilled about Sunny's approach. The View might be known for drama, but it also has an overarching brand identity, and big controversies can put sponsorships and network image at risk. Reportedly, producers began to wonder if Sunny was starting to overshadow the show itself, drawing negative press that could alienate audiences. Although it's typical for The View to feature heated debates and direct confrontations, indeed, that's part of its allure. There's a line between spirited conversation and a media circus that leaves the audience feeling more stressed than informed. comment sections under The View's official social media accounts turned chaotic. Some demanded public apologies, suspension, or even termination for Sunny Hostin. Others showed unwavering support, arguing that it's crucial for talk show hosts to speak their minds without the muzzle of corporate caution. The lawsuit from Carrie Underwood, however, hung over the proceedings like a question mark. Would ABC defend Sunny's remarks as permissible under free speech? Or would network lawyers push for a settlement behind closed doors to make the entire situation disappear? Carrie herself, typically lighthearted and warm in public appearances, found a new wave of support from fans who saw her lawsuit as a righteous stand against unfounded character attacks. In a world where news travels at lightning speed and reputations can be tarnished with a single viral clip, many felt it was time a celebrity drew a line in the sand. Supporters praised Carrie for not crumbling under the media spotlight, for fighting back in a legal arena rather than descending into a mudslinging brawl on social media. Others, however, saw Carrie's legal move as overly aggressive, arguing that public figures, especially superstars, should expect scrutiny and criticism, even if it stings. Meanwhile, the conversation threatened to overshadow who Carrie Underwood is as an artist. In a matter of weeks, the focus pivoted from her remarkable discography, filled with chart-topping hits, Grammy wins, and award show accolades, to the intricacies of a messy, politically charged confrontation. Depending on whom you asked, she was either a patriotic singer blindsided by politically motivated critics, or a prominent figure who, intentionally or not, endorsed a controversial politician's administration by performing at his inauguration. There was little middle ground, and the nuance of her intentions seemed lost amidst the noise. Joe Rogan kept fanning the flames. On subsequent episodes of his podcast, he doubled down on his stance that The View profits from fueling outrage culture. He used examples from past episodes, pointing out moments when the show welcomed Donald Trump himself as a friendly guest before his presidency, only to adopt a drastically different tone once he became a contentious political figure. Rogan's argument was that this revealed The View's true nature, flexible in its principles, chasing ratings above all else. Supporters of The View fought back, insisting that evolving opinions based on new circumstances and new controversies are part of being informed citizens. The friction between these points of view reflected a bigger philosophical divide about how much grace or scrutiny we afford public figures when times change. All the while, the lawsuit advanced with slow, methodical steps. Legal analysts speculated on talk shows, on YouTube channels, and in blog posts. Some predicted the court might throw out the case if Carrie Underwood's team couldn't prove actual malice, a critical standard in defamation suits against public figures. Others felt Sunny Hostin's statements could indeed meet the threshold of being reckless and harmful, especially if she implied specific wrongdoing. While the legal intricacies might not make for the most riveting primetime coverage, they had enormous implications for how talk shows in general operate. If Carrie Underwood won her case, it could trigger a more cautious approach to personal attacks across the media landscape. If she lost, it might embolden hosts to speak even more freely, armed with the notion that strong opinions, no matter how accusatory, are broadly protected speech. Within ABC's corporate corridors, rumors circulated about crisis talks. Some believed Sunny would face an internal review, or even be asked to offer a clarifying statement on air. Others thought the higher-ups might ride out the storm until the lawsuit reached a settlement, hoping that, in a 24-hour news cycle, the public's attention would drift to something else eventually. Meanwhile, The View's cast maintained a surprisingly unified front in public. Other co-hosts offered mild statements about respecting Carrie's talent, but often pivoted quickly back to discussing the political ramifications of inauguration performances. Sunny, for her part, had gone conspicuously quiet, no matter that her silence only added to the swirling intrigue. Like any high-profile drama in this digital age, parallel storylines emerged. Websites started excavating old interview clips of Carrie Underwood, looking for any signs she may have signaled certain political leanings in the past. Others tried to find contradictory statements from Sunny Hostin that might undermine her credibility or show hypocrisy. It became a game of gotcha, with commentators on all sides eager to prove the other side's moral or logical failings. The more that was dug up, the more certain corners of the internet questioned everything about this conflict. Was it partially orchestrated for ratings? Were there hidden motivations or alliances fueling the outrage? Some fans, both of Carrie and The View, longed for a decisive resolution. Perhaps a heartfelt conversation on air, where Sunny and Carrie could address each other directly. Or maybe a statement acknowledging misunderstandings while reaffirming that celebrities have the freedom to perform for whomever they choose without automatically endorsing every policy under the sun. Yet, the climate of outrage seemed so entrenched that a simple meeting of minds felt more like a fantasy. In an era of explosive headlines and viral sound bites, compromise rarely gets as many clicks as conflict does. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan refused to let the subject fade, turning the Carrie versus Sunny saga into a case study on media sensationalism. He played old clips of The View welcoming Donald Trump with open arms, then compared them to Sunny Hostin's harsh criticisms of Carrie Underwood. His question: how can a show that once treated Trump like a friendly neighbor now crucify someone for singing at his event? Rogan insisted it was the clearest sign of opportunism, and that the moral outrage might be disingenuous. As usual, his audience lapped it up, flooding social media with supportive commentary, defending Carrie Underwood's right to sing wherever she pleases, and decrying talk shows that seem to shift with the political winds. For casual observers, the entire spectacle felt emblematic of a larger cultural moment. Not long ago, performances at presidential inaugurations were seen as honors bestowed upon artists, often bridging political divides. Now, every act seemed politicized, carrying with it deep implications about alignment, endorsement, and moral positioning. The Carrie Underwood fiasco cast a stark light on how divided the country was, and how even a single performance could become a referendum on a celebrity's ethics. The story also raised questions about defamation in the internet. Age. It's one thing for a talk show host to be critical of a performer's decision. It's another thing to allege or imply that the performer is complicit in the wrongdoing of the figure they perform for. Public figures suing for defamation must clear high legal hurdles, especially if the statements in question can be classified as opinions rather than false claims of fact. Courts often see robust debate as the backbone of free expression, granting wide latitude to commentary. Nevertheless, if Sunny Hostin suggested that Carrie Underwood was effectively endorsing or participating in alleged criminal or unethical activities, particularly if she used phrases like convicted felon to describe Trump's status at the time, this could cross into territory where a legal challenge might hold weight. Simultaneously, the environment around show business was changing. Celebrities and networks alike navigated an era defined by instantaneous feedback. No misstep, or perceived misstep, remained private for long. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram functioned as 24/7 focus groups with the power to uplift or condemn in a viral flash. Talk shows that once felt comfortable, airing unfiltered remarks, suddenly realized every word could be clipped, shared, and magnified. In that context, Carrie Underwood's defamation suit could set a powerful precedent. Adding even more complexity, the conversation was never just about Carrie and Sunny. It also involved a swirl of other figures. Producers, network executives, sponsor relationships, political personalities, and everyday viewers all contributed to the narrative. Each stakeholder approached the controversy with personal and professional agendas, some wanting to stoke the flames for attention, others hoping to quell it to protect reputations or advertising dollars. This multi-layered web exemplified how a seemingly straightforward performance can spiral into a multi-act drama in today's hyper-connected world. Meanwhile, Carrie Underwood's dedicated fan base refused to remain quiet. Country music aficionados came out in droves, flooding Sunny Hostin's social media posts with pro-Carrie messages. They extolled Carrie's philanthropic efforts, her track record of heartfelt music, and her long-standing tradition of performing patriotic songs at various events. To them, the allegations that she was endorsing every aspect of Trump's administration by singing at his inauguration were beyond unfair. They were an affront to her entire career and personal values. They also pointed out that countless artists had performed for presidents they didn't necessarily support politically, citing examples throughout history when music was viewed as a unifying force rather than a statement of personal alignment. The defamation lawsuit, from these fans' perspective, was simply Carrie drawing a protective boundary around her name. On the other side, supporters of Sunny Hostin and The View argued that public figures, especially major celebrities, need to be held accountable for the implications of their choices. If Carrie Underwood decided to serenade a leader who many found morally objectionable, that performance might carry a symbolic weight that can't be shrugged off as just singing. They contended that Sunny wasn't defaming Carrie, but rather challenging what it means to use one's talent in service of controversial figures. They insisted that free speech allowed for a host on a daytime show to voice discomfort or dismay at that choice, especially if she believed it conflicted with her principles and those of many Americans. Through it all, Sunny Hostin's uncharacteristic silence spoke volumes. Known for her willingness to comment on nearly any topic, she suddenly found herself facing a lawsuit, one that could carry serious consequences if it ever made it to trial. Her co-hosts, likely on the advice of legal teams, skirted around specifics on the show. Still, the audience could sense a shift in mood whenever Carrie Underwood's name came up. The tension was palpable, as though a single wrong word could feed an army of lawyers building a case. As each day passed, the stakes only seemed to grow. News commentators began to describe the situation as a flashpoint in how talk shows conduct their panel discussions. Since the earliest days of radio and TV, public debate has been a staple, but there's also a tradition of accountability. If you lie or slander someone, you could find yourself in court. Yet, the rise of heated political discourse, combined with instantaneous and global social media sharing, had blurred that once clear line. Carrie vs. Sunny was the perfect example. An on-air host expressing frustration over a politically charged performance might not sound revolutionary, but in this climate, it could ignite a nationwide debate on defamation, free speech, and accountability in entertainment. Observers noted that if Carrie succeeded in her lawsuit, it might inspire more celebrities to sue talk show hosts or online commentators over harsh criticism, potentially ushering in a wave of defamation cases that chill open debate. Conversely, if Sunny were to prevail, it would likely reaffirm the broad freedom talk show hosts enjoy to speak passionately, even if they risk sounding accusatory. Neither outcome would be perfect. One risked excessive censorship, the other risked an environment where reputations could be savaged by reckless commentary. All of this led to a perplexing question: how much of this controversy was about genuine moral stances, and how much was driven by the hungry 24/7 news cycle and the fierce competition for clicks and viewership? The more conspiratorial corners of the internet speculated that both The View and the Joe Rogan podcast saw a boost in attention thanks to the dispute. Carrie Underwood, typically more reserved in the public eye, also found herself at the center of media coverage like never before. What if the entire fiasco was a perfect storm of social forces? A snippet of performance that triggered moral outrage, amplified by talk show commentary, weaponized by fans and critics on social media, and then escalated into the domain of legal battles and multi-million-dollar reputations? Eventually, critics and fans alike realized that lurking beneath the spectacle was a core issue that resonates across modern American society. How do we handle differences of opinion, especially when they concern leaders who provoke such strong reactions? Once upon a time, an inauguration performance might have been a unifying moment. In today's hyper-partisan atmosphere, it became a wedge, a litmus test for where an artist's values presumably lie. And that wedge divided not just the audience, but also talk show hosts, legal experts, network executives, and more. Carrie Underwood's voice, powerful as it is, sang across a deeply fractured national landscape, inadvertently shining a light on how politicized public events have become. On the flip side, Sunny Hostin's pointed critique spoke to the concerns of many who oppose normalizing figures they see as harmful. Joe Rogan's interjection brought his own audience into the fray, many of whom feel that mainstream networks often promote faux outrage for ratings. And the lawsuit itself put everyone on notice. In an age of viral clips and boundless public chatter, words carry real consequences. So what happens next? Perhaps a settlement behind closed doors, an on-air reconciliation, or a trial that grips the nation's attention and redefines the boundaries of televised discourse. What's certain is that neither Carrie Underwood's performance nor Sunny Hostin's critiques will be easily forgotten. This entire saga has become a mirror reflecting broader societal tensions around free expression, celebrity influence, and the potential legal ramifications of a single statement. It also offers a cautionary tale for anyone, be they talk show, host, or YouTube personality, who might be tempted to unleash heated critiques without carefully considering the potential fallout. In the end, the story of Carrie Underwood's inauguration performance and Sunny Hostin's backlash is more than just a slice of showbiz drama. It's an emblem of the times. It serves as a reminder that in today's world, every choice a public figure Makes can be politicized, and every word a commentator utters can unleash a storm. Yet, it also underscores the power of individual agency. Carrie Underwood chose to stand firm in her decision to sing, and later, to wield the legal system to protect her name. Sunny Hostin decided to express her dismay on a platform where millions tune in daily. Joe Rogan opted to weigh in, unafraid to challenge mainstream media. Whether these choices reflect courage, opportunism, or convictions will continue to spark debate, but one fact remains undeniable. Their decisions have reshaped conversations about free speech, defamation, and the responsibilities that come with having an audience of millions. As viewers, we can only watch, analyze, and reflect on what each development reveals about the state of American culture, entertainment, and the increasingly blurry line between them. Will The View pivot to more measured conversations, fearing future lawsuits? Will Joe Rogan double down on calling out perceived hypocrisy in daytime television? Will Carrie Underwood's stance embolden other performers to push back on what they see as overreach by talk show personalities? Each new twist carries implications for the broader media ecosystem, influencing how stories are reported, how celebrities respond to controversy, and how talk shows handle political discourse. If there is a silver lining, perhaps it's that this controversy invites audiences to question the narratives they consume. Are we being fed sensationalized storylines designed to spike ratings? How easily do we conflate an artist's performance with their personal beliefs? Can open dialogue exist without devolving into accusations that demand legal intervention? These questions might not have simple answers, but they're worth asking as we all navigate a public square transformed by technology, politics, and the endless churn of the modern news cycle. Until a definitive legal resolution or a public truce emerges, the Carrie Underwood versus Sunny Hostin saga remains a potent reminder of how quickly a performance can morph into a national debate, and how precariously talk show commentary can waltz along the edge of defamation. One thing is for certain, when the dust finally settles, the landscape of celebrity, free speech, and daytime talk could look very different from when Carrie first lifted that microphone and began to sing at the inauguration. What began as a singular patriotic performance has evolved into a multi-layered conversation about respect, reputation, and the raw power of words, reminding us that, in this day and age, a single moment on live television can echo for a very long time. Before you go, join the conversation and let your voice be heard. Like this video if you found the story intriguing. Comment below with your thoughts. Do you believe Carrie's performance was purely patriotic or a political stance? Subscribe for more eye-opening deep dives into the stories that shape our culture. We can't wait to hear what you think. See you in the next video.